Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission here is simple. You give us the source material, the articles, the press conferences, and the raw stats, and we deliver the distilled, essential knowledge you need to be completely up to date and well-informed. Today we're jumping into the drama that went down in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. We're talking about the final of the 2025 NBA Cup.
Which in its third year now has really become a genuine high-stakes event.
It really has. Okay, let's unpack this. The final score. The New York Knicks take the cup, beating the San Antonio Spurs 124 to 113.
And right away, for you, the learner, we have to stress that 11-point difference is so misleading.
It really is.
This was not a comfortable win for New York. It was a tale of two halves, a game defined by tactics, pressure, and at the end of the day, a massive reaction from the Knicks in that fourth quarter.
And that's our mission, right? To dissect that late-game title-clinching surge. How did the Knicks manage to flip the script when the Spurs seemed to have all the momentum?
And what does this all mean for the rest of the NBA season?
Let's get right into it, into the anatomy of that comeback, because the reports all say San Antonio was running the show for a huge chunk of this game.
Oh, for the first three quarters, yeah. They were dictating the tempo completely.
Using that new offensive identity they've been building, with that trio of point guards pushing the pace.
And that's what's so fascinating. Their strategy was working. They had this. Analysts were calling it a disruptive zone press hybrid defense.
So what was the point of that? Not just steals, I'm guessing.
No, not at all. The goal was exhaustion. It was designed to just wear out Jalen Brunson, make him start the offense 30 feet from the basket, kill the clock, and it was working.
But momentum in a final can just vanish, can it? And that brings us to the big shift. The Knicks won this because their defense figured something out.
Exactly. It wasn't about outscoring them in a shootout. It was about clamping down and creating total stagnation for San Antonio's offense.
So what changed? What was the specific adjustment they made?
It wasn't really one single thing, but more of a change in philosophy from the coaching staff. They stopped soft hedging, which the Spurs guards were just eating up.
And they went to what instead?
Incredibly physical, hard-switching defense across all 5 positions. They basically dared San Antonio beat us one-on-one with the shot clock winding down.
That's the key detail, physicality.
Yeah.
Because the reports are clear, the Spurs went from flowing to just rigid. They couldn't create any good looks down the stretch.
None at all. It was an absolute grind for them in that fourth quarter.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it just shows that in these huge finals, that initial momentum doesn't mean much if you can't adapt, right?
Absolutely. The Knicks, being the more veteran team, they knew they had to make it ugly. They made it physical, forced ISO plays, and let their defensive experience take over. It just proves that clutch defense almost always beats a hot offense.
And when a defense gets that tight, you need someone to just make a play, an incredible individual play. So let's talk about the heroes for New York, and we have to start with OG Anunoby.
Anunoby was their stabilizer. He finished with 28 points, which is a huge night. But here's the real nugget.
Go on.
20 of those 28 points came in the first half alone.
20 points in the first half. So he was basically carrying the entire offense while everyone else was trying to figure things out.
That's exactly what he was doing. He was aggressively hunting mismatches that the Spurs press was creating. He made sure the Knicks didn't fall into a deep hole, so they were still in the game when that fourth quarter run finally happened.
Okay, so what about the engine of that team, Jalen Brunson? 25 points, but the analysis notes his field goal percentage was pretty low.
Yeah, and this brings up a really interesting point for anyone studying championship basketball.
Which is?
Does volume and just sheer intent sometimes matter more than efficiency?
You mean even if his shot wasn't falling?
Even if his shot wasn't falling, he was constantly pressuring the defense. He drew 12 free throws. He was putting key Spurs players in foul trouble. That neutralizes the bad shooting percentage.
So he's creating chaos, forcing rotations, and just being a constant threat?
Exactly. His inefficiency was actually a strategic win because he was still breaking down their defense.
When that opens things up for other guys.
It does. Which brings us to Karl-Anthony Towns. You flagged this as the warrior detail.
I did. He was playing on a bum knee, but still puts up 16 points and grabs 11 rebounds. That's just pure competitive grit.
It is, but you could see his movement was hampered. And the Knicks knew that.
So how did they manage that liability on defense?
They absorbed it with their depth. Towns did his part to get them through the early parts of the game. But that final push, that was really driven by the bench.
And the reports were emphatic about this. Jordan Clarkson and Tyler Kolek.
A combined 29 points off the bench.
29 points in a final. That is just staggering production.
That was the decisive impulse, as the reports called it. Clarkson was hitting timely threes, getting into the lane against the Spurs defense that was just getting tired. You don't win a title without your bench showing up like that.
Okay, let's flip this around. Let's look at the other side of the court. The team that started so well, but couldn't finish the job.
The San Antonio Spurs. And what's interesting is, when their offense stalled, their top scorer wasn't who you'd think.
Right. It wasn't Wembanyama. It was Dylan Harper off the bench with 21 points.
Which is a phenomenal performance for a young player in that spot. But yeah, the focus, of course, is on Victor Wembanyama.
He had 18 points in 25 minutes. The numbers look decent, but the reports say he really struggled in that final quarter.
You did. And analysts pointed to specific technical reasons tied directly to that Knicks adjustment we talked about.
So what were they doing to him?
They basically played a no-help defense on him. They trusted their one-on-one defender and refused to double-team him, which forced him into these tough, contested mid-range shots instead of looks at the rim.
And the reports also mentioned issues with his defensive positioning. What does that mean for a player like him?
It means the Knicks were running high-speed actions designed to make him choose, protect the rim, or step out to the perimeter. And in that fourth quarter chaos, he was often caught in between, a step too slow.
And this is where the context becomes, well, just profoundly human.
It really does.
Wembanyama was playing under this immense personal pressure. He had announced the death of his grandmother just hours before the game. He was seen crying in the post-game interview.
And that is absolutely essential context. You can't evaluate his performance without knowing that. We expect athletes to have this tunnel vision, but to carry that kind of grief in the brightest spotlight imaginable, it's almost impossible.
It makes his 18 points, even with the struggles, seem pretty remarkable.
It does. It just reminds you that these are human beings behind the jerseys. Our thoughts are certainly with him and his family.
Absolutely. Okay, let's pivot now, because the sources you provided weren't just about the final. They had some incredible sidebar stories from around the NBA.
Yeah, the league never stops.
Yeah.
A few really memorable updates here.
Let's start with the young star, Cooper Flagg. Made history, surpassing LeBron James as the youngest player ever to score 40 points in a game.
For the Dallas Mavericks, yeah.
Yeah.
And that isn't just a fun little stat. LeBron held almost all of those youngest ever records for 20 years. For Flagg to break that one, it suggests he's adapting to the NBA faster than almost anyone ever has.
And speaking of LeBron, he's nearing 41, and he's still LeBron, had a spectacular chase-down block during a 26-point game.
It shouldn't be physically possible, right?
Yeah.
It just shows the difference between guys who prolong a career and guys who maintain elite physical output. It's incredible.
Then there's this great story about team culture. Luka Doncic gave out over 100 electric bikes to the entire Lakers roster and staff.
I love that. It's not about the money. It's a gesture that builds camaraderie. It shows appreciation for the whole organization, top to bottom.
On a more serious note, health-wise, Kristaps Porzingis of the Hawks is dealing with something called POTS.
Yeah, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It affects blood flow when you stand up, leads to dizziness, fatigue. For an elite athlete whose whole job is cardiovascular endurance, that's a really concerning and unique challenge. He'll be out for 2 weeks.
And finally, another Hawk, Jalen Johnson, is just putting up historic numbers.
His fourth straight triple-double before the age of 24.
Wow.
The only other players to do that are Magic Johnson and Oscar Robertson.
Yeah.
That's rarefied air. He's putting himself in a historic conversation.
So, to bring it all back home, to recap our main takeaway, the 2025 NBA Cup belongs to the Knicks. They absorbed that early punch from the Spurs and then just showed superior defensive will and depth.
And what this means for the rest of the season is that this validates their whole roster construction, their bench, their veterans-like Towns playing through pain. It sends a clear message that the Knicks aren't just a good team, they're a championship-caliber team built for those tough, high-leverage moments.
It definitely feels like a statement win, but let's circle back to Wembanyama and the Spurs for our final provocative thought for you to explore on your own.
Okay.
So, considering those defensive positioning issues he had in the clutch, which were probably amplified by the personal pressure he was under and the fact he was just coming back from a calf injury,
Yeah.
how should the Spurs coaching staff adjust his role going forward?
That's the big question. Do you keep him closer to the basket to maximize his rim protection, even if it means sacrificing some perimeter defense? Or do you push him, increase those demands to prepare him for the playoffs? That's definitely something for you to mull over as the season continues. We hope this deep dive, looking at the stats and the human side of the story, helps you see the bigger picture. Thanks for joining us.